Howdy, y'all. It's Curious Raven on Wednesday with some heartfelt ghost stories of loved ones that passed away coming back to visit us. I hope y'all enjoy. Number 1. Hi, all. I'm not a great storyteller, but I will try my best. For my short but sweet story, we need to go back to 2011. I was 18. I am now 30, so it's been quite a few years. Me and my now ex-girlfriend decided one day to have a psychic that we saw on Facebook come to our house and share a reading with us. I was very skeptical, but my ex wasn't, so I decided to entertain it. The lady was everything you'd imagine a psychic to be. She had long gray hair, wore clothes of a hippie nature, and believe it or not, she even came with an assistant of hers. She came in our house and took a seat in the front room. It began by saying she wanted to do both mine and my ex's readings separately. So I went into the back garden and had a cigarette with her assistant. He was an alright dude. My ex had her reading and came out in tears, and she couldn't believe some of the stuff the lady had said. But I still wasn't fully convinced. And it was my turn. Went straight and sat down, and she immediately told me not to be so skeptical. Something I hadn't even told her or her assistant. Proceeded to tell me my granddad was present and called him by his first name, Michael, and said he was concerned about my back tire on my motorcycle. My motorcycle was at my mom's house 7 miles away. Continued to tell me other things that she literally had no way of knowing, like, for example, an inside joke between me and my ex, and she said within the year we would go from 2 to 3. My ex got pregnant the following year. She finished, and I went home, and me and my ex was just gobsmacked. And me, the skeptic, I was speechless. Then I remembered that she said my granddad had said about my back tire on my motorcycle. The next day, I get over to my mom's house, go into the garage, and right in front of me is my motorcycle with a puncture in its back tire. Goosebumps activated. Been a believer ever since. The reason I decided to share this story to you today is because I've spent the last couple of days reading through this subreddit, and it motivated me to share. I know sometimes psychics get stick in the media, etc. For me, this was real as seeing the real thing. Number 2. My best friend passed away 1 year ago, this last February 19th. She was only 36, effervescent and salty. She was fine one day, the next found out she had a brain tumor, and a year later she was gone. I hate that she has left. I'm sad my son won't know her laugh. I'm still devastated by her loss, and I'm not sure I'll ever recover. She had a ha-ha sense of humor. She found mild inconvenience amusing, but would move heaven and earth if you needed her. The first time I realized she was with me was during a fairly devastating day at work. I don't have a difficult job, but it can be emotionally heavy and repetitive. I went to my car for my break and turned on the radio and started scrolling through my phone. That song came on that everyone hates. I only say that because I've never met anyone who likes it. You cut out a piece of me and now I bleed internally. Ugh, just awful. Ugh, I hate this song. And immediately, the dial shifted to static. Not to the next station, not to the next signal, just static. To the very next number, I was listening to 100.7, and it was now 100.8. I looked at my steering wheel. I pressed the buttons on the surface to see which button would make the dial move. Only one digit. There wasn't one. That was the first time. There are other things, like my toddler son having random conversations with the wall, but the most obvious is the earring game. I've since realized that there's this game she wants to play when she wants to show me something or wants me to pay attention to something. My right earring will fall out. It could be a hoop, a stud, a post with a back, a chandelier on a wire, whatever. I don't designate my earrings left and right. I just put them on. But some days, especially recently, my right earring will just fall off. If it had a back, it's either still stuck to my ear or on the ground by my foot. But when I go down to get the earring, it sort of became a joke in my office because one day, on my way back in from being outside, someone noticed my earring was gone. I went back and found it and didn't really think much of it until it happened again with a different pair. I made a joke about how I must have had a ghost tugging on my ear, and yet it's happened a half a dozen times since with 4 other styles. Not sure what she's showing me, but I always get some good clarity in those moments. I don't know if it means anything, if it is anything, or if I just miss my friend. I like to think it's her way of pulling my ear to remind me that I have better things to do, or to complain less, or just to let me know she's not so far away. So, I put on earrings every day hoping to feel one fall away from me, just so I can say thanks to her for always keeping me company. Number 3. When I was 7 years old, my older cousin William was killed in a car accident. He was 11 years old. This happened in 1977. Fast forward 45 plus years, I had a dream I had to go deliver a piece of furniture to my aunt's house. When I arrived, my uncle and my other cousin Jimmy and another male I didn't recognize were in the kitchen making tacos. They invited me in for dinner. As we sat at the table eating, I was talking to this other guy that I didn't recognize. He looked very familiar, but I couldn't place him. After dinner, he proceeded to walk outside and help me unload the furniture. He was very nice, and I felt very comfortable with him. Just before I woke up from my dream, it hit me. That was my cousin William. I was very excited, and just as I woke up, I said out loud, "That's my cousin William." I'm talking to my mother a couple hours later. I told her all about the dream. She looked at me with a shocked look on her face and calmly said, "Today is his birthday." I was floored. I have never had a dream with him in it, and I had no idea when his birthday was. I considered it a visit, and this isn't even close to the first time this has happened to me. But it was visits from other friends and family who have passed away. It happens pretty often, but this one blew me away. Just thought I'd share and read through the comments to see what everyone had to say. Thank you. Number 4. Background. My dad lives in a typical suburban home in a 55 plus community. His house is probably 30 to 40 years old. 4 years ago, my dad's girlfriend, with whom he lived, died in the home after a battle with cancer. In the past few weeks, my father has reported several strange things happening. He saw an apparition in a gown walk through his dining room one evening while he was in the adjacent room watching TV. A very large piece of art fell off its wall. It had been hanging there for years without incident. Around 3 a.m. one day, he was awoken by a very large bang inside the home in the living room. Around the same time, on another day, he was awoken to the sound of a penny falling onto the hardwood floor next to his bed. He said the penny was not on his nightstand or anywhere he could recall. And if it was on the nightstand, it certainly wasn't on the edge where it could have fallen off so easily. What do you think is going on? What sorts of things can he do to see if it's really a ghost? Perhaps of his deceased girlfriend. Number 5. Months ago, before moving to my new home, I began to wake up during the night and feel as if I was being watched. My wife miscarried our first kid. He was our first son, and I was shattered when it happened. Well, one night I woke up, not really sure what time it was. Wife was asleep and all the kids were sleeping. I check on them periodically through the night because, as a father, I like to know my kids are safe and sleeping peacefully. I know my son was in the living room. He gets nightmares, and I'll run in there and assure him I'm there. However, the night I woke up, I faced the wall, but I felt this presence. I felt like I was being watched. I sit up instinctively and see the silhouette of what I thought was my son standing in the doorway. Hey, buddy, you okay? Have a nightmare? No answer. I saw the blonde hair and a smile, and what dim light came from the television that was on in the living room. I began to get out of bed, and what I thought was my son dove around the doorframe. I walk out my room and see my son sound asleep. Buddy? My heart starts racing now as I approach my son and check to make sure he's sound asleep and not trying to fool me. Undoubtedly asleep. I had no other sons then. I began to look around the house, but the image of my son in the doorway kept replaying in my head. What if it was my deceased son? Was he always watching? Nothing like this has happened since, but I can't shake the possibility that if it was him, I felt so broken. Number 6. Growing up, I've always had a love for video games. Coming from a rather not so wealthy, not so poor, my parents weren't able to get me the system I truly wanted. The system was the Xbox 360. All of my friends had one, and I wanted one for myself. My parents wanted to buy me one, but it was not on their budget. What did I do? I saved any little money I could, and finally, after my 11th birthday, I was able to buy myself one. The Xbox was located downstairs of my parents' house. My mom always gave me a time to shut it off and go to bed upstairs. The stairs go up the majority of the steps and makes a turn with a few more steps till you reach the second floor. Just like any other night, I was playing Xbox and my bedtime had came upon. I turned the Xbox and TV off along with all the lights downstairs. As I worked to make my way upstairs, I turned the upstairs light on in the middle of the room. I walked up the majority of the stairs and made the turn to the middle room. As I turned, I seen my mom in a white gown with a gentle glow to her, as she never turned to say anything to me. She made her way into my sister's room, where all the lights are off. No night lights, no TV, nothing. It was a routine to hug and kiss my mom goodnight, as we were never promised tomorrow. I walk into the darkness of my sister's room to find no one in there. I turn the lights on in case my eyes were playing tricks on me, but they in fact were not. Neither my sister or my mom were in there. I quickly turned the lights off and ran to my parents' room to find my father, mother, sister all to be found. They were all giggling and joking around. I, on the other hand, had no words. Questions to how my mom got there so fast and changed her clothes and why she hadn't said anything to me. Them being dumbfounded by these questions had nothing to say, but I was seeing things and they were in my parents' room the entire time. The next day, I was shown a picture of my deceased aunt. She died of cancer before I was born. Until that day, I had not known how her and my mom looked so alike, almost unrecognizable from each other. I still carry that occurrence with me to this day. I'm convinced I seen my aunt, but also wonder at times many questions to why or how I seen her. Was the glow to her figure a good sign? Has she made it to the afterlife? I thought once a spirit made it to the light, they were no longer able to walk this earth. At least my prior knowledge from books and movies and TV shows. I have many questions. At the same time, I think it's for the better good for them to be unanswered. Have you ever experienced an angel or a spirit in general? Was it a good or bad? Do you even believe in spirits and ghosts? Okay, everybody, that is the ending of today's ghost stories. I hope y'all enjoyed this little collection. To me, they were very heartwarming and heartfelt. Goosebumps reading them, I can tell you that, because I have had people visit me as well after they have passed, and it's so real. But I will see y'all tomorrow, Thursday. But until then, remember, it's scary out there. Please like and subscribe.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross